I'm gonna try and have this as like a diary of some sorts. I don't really know what I'm gonna do with it, but I set all this up and it took me a really long time. And I practically had like a fifth life crisis. I'm 20 years old right now. A fifth life crisis over getting it all set up because, I wanted a camera. I wanted like to get everything perfect because I had this dope ass mic. And then I have a really cool camera, but then I didn't have the right cable for the camera, and I spent like 2 or an hour and a half searching for the right cable, and I just didn't have the cable. And I thought I had the cable for a second, but I didn't have it. And oh my gosh, it was like the devastating part of a story where it's like, it's like the hero's journey where like he thought he got the right object or treasure or whatever, but then he realized that it wasn't, and he brought it to the the sage, you could say, and he asked the sage, "I finally got it. I finally got the right object." And the sage looked down at the object and he said, "That's not the right object." And he spent all that time looking for it, and then he was just like, "This isn't the right object." So that was pretty crushing. But you know what? It was the journey that mattered, that made him, and not even the object itself. So you just gotta put your worth in what you do and how you do it, um, and not the treasure that you're searching for. Cause really, what it's all about is your character and how you do things rather than what you really accomplish. Um, which is honestly like so much more beautiful. You think of like cool stories where it's like, uh, I don't know. I'm a big fan of Kanye West, and what I find so much more interesting. I love his music, but what I find so much more interesting that makes his music so much cooler is how he got there. If you're a real fan, you see that like he really came from nothing, and he was this kid from the suburbs of the south side of Chicago, and he just had this dream. And he wasn't a gangster or anything like that, but he just had this dream and he worked so hard at it, and he was so desperate and wanted it so bad. um Not in an immoral way where like he was willing to sacrifice anything, but like he was just out there and just tried to prove himself and what he could do. And the way he proved himself, and like the humble beginnings, and just like his journey so far, has just been so interesting. And like especially for his old music, you just kind of see the hero's journey and all that. um and that's just like the journey is what makes the outcome, and your character is what makes the outcome. um and the story of Kanye West almost makes you think. It's like, I did a little bit of research into the name of Kanye, and which it was his mother who named him, and then his mother named him after uh like in a like it was like a South African language, and it comes from like a tribe in Africa. But what his name means is, I believe, next in line. And it's like, whoa, next in line. I went to his concert, and the guy had a stadium sold out of 80,000 people, and you could say, he's the most influential rapper of all time, and you're just like, and his mom named him next in line. It's like, it almost makes you think that like fate is real, which like it is. Well, actually, who can say if it is or not? Um, who can say if a man has any control over his own destiny or not? You don't really know. But all it really starts from is humble beginnings. Um, well, one of the most important things about that, though, too, is that you can't be afraid to show your true self in whatever you do. And you can't be afraid of how other people view you, or what other people think of you, because it just gets in your head, and then it's just so crushing. But the real question is, like, say someone uh say someone let those thoughts get into their head, and they then it crushed them. You have to think, were they always meant to be crushed, or did they let their fear hold them back of their destiny, from their destiny? You know? It's hard to say. But I don't know. I don't know. I think that's what's really been on my mind lately. It's like, for example, I got really into producing, and I'm trying to make an album with one of my best friends. Two of my best friends. Two of my best friends. And, you know, I'm at a point where it's like, I have no idea what I want to do. And I know no one really does, especially in this stage of my life. For people at this stage in my life, and people in their 20s and everything like that, it's like, I am 20 years old and I just don't know what I want to do. I'm trying out new passions, and I just dropped out of college because I wanted to do this, and I was just like, I was at a point where I was so overconfident in my ability to do this because I was so passionate about it. And then the more I learned about it, my confidence just started going down. And then you start having doubts. You start letting pressure build up. And then you start comparing yourselves to other people. And it gets so hard to continue. Because, I was having dreams of, like, me being successful with this, of me, like, I could almost see myself. I could see myself in front of a crowd of people, almost like I was at the Grammys or something like that. I could see myself shaking hands with people that I looked up to, celebrities. But it's hard to say, because it's like, maybe that was just delusion. Or maybe that is real, and I'm just on the journey to that. You just don't know. You just don't know. You just don't know. But I would say it's all about overcoming yourself in it all. And the dragon in my life is comparison. Anything I do, and any passion I have, and in life in general, in my work, and my purpose, and even my faith, and in everything, all I've done is just compare myself to others. And it's like a secondhand nature thing. Like with everything, with relationships, with friendships, with the people I hang around, and in that, it's hard not to lose myself. Because I think the whole thing is, it's just like, at this stage in every 20-year-old's life, they're just trying to find out who they are. They're trying to find out who they are, what they want to do, what their purpose is, what they believe, which, I mean, I know what I believe. Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. You know, ever since I was saved, that has been the one thing that I've never stopped believing in. You know, you can go, I can go through periods of where, like, oh, you know, I'm pretty wishy-washy when it comes to working out. You know, I can go through phases where it's like I'm 6 months doing this straight, and then I take like a week off or whatever, but then it's like, then I get back into it, and it's like I try to bulk up, I try to maybe lose a little bit of fat or whatever, which I really don't have any fat to lose. But it's like, all that to say is, like, with any passion, the one thing that has remained consistent ever since I have been reborn is my faith in Christ. Which the extra things of that, of, like, you know, reading my Bible, praying, that is wishy-washy. But it's like the faith itself has not been wishy-washy. I mean, there will be times where it's, oh, you know, I read something and it's like, is this true? But it's like, even in my doubt, I'm still talking to Christ about the doubt. Like he's I mean, he is always there, you know? But like, he's still there even when I'm, quote unquote, in a stage of unbelief, you know? But all that to say, it's like every 20-year-old right now is just like trying to figure out who they are. And you could say just like on a little bit of a hero's journey. And it's like, now the dragon that I have to face on my hero's journey, I feel like, is comparison. You know, it's just something that I have to face. And I feel like once I get over that, I'll find a freedom that is just uncomparable to anything else, you know? They say comparison is the thief of joy, but it's just so much deeper than that, because it's like comparison has been so deep rooted, where it's like only a couple years ago, or not even only a couple years ago, but only just now recently am I realizing how big of a problem comparison truly is. You let comparison into your life, and then it makes you doubt your passions. It makes you doubt the work that you're doing. It makes you doubt your purpose. It makes you doubt who you are as a person. And it's such an evil thing. And I'm at a point where I don't know how to deal with it. Because there are good and bad times in my life, but it's like, in a good time in your life, yeah, you won't compare yourself to anyone. You'll be focused on what you love to do, and you'll be so rooted in that thing where you almost try to find your identity in that. And I guess all that to say is, when you put your identity in something that's not a rock, that's not stable enough to be an identity, or not stable enough to hold your identity, then it just comes crashing down, you know? It's like a peak, where it's like you peak at that point, and then when you start to get a little bit burnt out in that, or when you start to when reality starts to set in after, you know, you've been enamored in this thing, things come crashing down. Things come crashing down. But feels like the main theme of my life is getting over myself. The enemy, I saw a reel about this, but it was a black guy saying that the enemy is your inner me. Inner me. Enemy, inner me. And it's weird because it almost just doesn't make sense. It's like, why is the person that doubts me the most me? Why is the person that doesn't want to be happy, why is that me? Why is the person that doesn't want me to be happy myself? Why do I get in these fits of passion, of happiness, of joy, of whatever it is, of sadness or what? Why is there an inner me trying to bring myself down? And I don't know. I just dropped out of college thinking that I was going to follow this passion, and I think that was a little immature. Which it's like, I'm on this journey now, and it's just something that I'm gonna have to deal with. And honestly, I think 5 years from now, I'm gonna look back and be like, yeah, that was the right decision to do, and I wouldn't be where I am without that decision having been made. But right now, it seems a little bit immature of following this passion. And it's like, I look at my life right now and it's just like, what the hell am I doing with my life? What am I doing? And maybe it's for the best, Maybe I'm thinking about it too much, because it's like, when I was in college, I felt purposeless. Now that I'm out of college, well, I feel closer to, in a weird way, I feel closer to what, I feel closer to my destiny. In a weird way, I feel like it was the right decision, not just because of, you can make a list of like pros and cons and, oh, well, I did the right thing for this reason, and I did the wrong, maybe the cons outweigh the pros, and the pros outweigh the cons, blah, blah, blah. But, throw the list out, and I look at my life, and it makes me think, no matter what happens, I do feel closer to my destiny. What really helped me, and what I realized from pursuing this passion, which it was like, now I'm trying to make music right now, and I don't know how that's gonna go, but all that to say is, it did make me realize that one of the things that I love to do, that just seems a part of me and rooted in my identity, is creation. No matter what it is, I love to create. Whether it's this right now, whether I'm creating a video or a diary or or music, or just trying to find different things, I do feel closer to my destiny. I feel closer, like I'm building skills right now that'll help me in the future. But all that to say, the biggest obstacle that I need to overcome is comparison. That is the dragon in my life. And it's so hard because, like I was saying, it's so secondhand nature. You can get to points where it's like, you're doing well with it, where you look at a person and you're just like, where you're just like, you know what, we're just different. We're just different people. And that is the right way to think, but it's hard to be consistent in that, because, you know, that's a time when you're doing well in life. But then when things start to get a little shaky, you know, when the road isn't paved well, you start to look at people and you start hearing about people's success, and you start hearing about the good things going on in other people's life. One thing leads to another, and then you start looking at another person and you're just like, dang, I want to look like that person. Or you start saying, I wish I made as much money as that person. And then the comparison almost leads to like a place where it's just like, it starts to lead to a greater fear of people and anxiety. But it's just a battle. It's just a battle. It's a tough battle. But, you know, it does feel like a dragon that I will overcome. And one of the things is like, I don't know if this is right or not. It feels like there's two options here, at least in my mind, where it's like the first way to overcome it, or like it's like I'm looking at two paths. And the first path is Christ, and I just root myself completely in Christ, and then it'll all go away. You know? It'll all go away. I just root myself in my faith and what I believe and in Jesus Christ. But then the second path is that the second path is to almost like burn my bridges. You know? I stop caring about what other people think about me, and what that looks like is almost like like I'm a jester, where it's like, you know, I don't care if people see me vape in public. I don't care if I post this and then, you know, I cuss and then people have a distorted view of me. Where I take life not so seriously. I stop caring about what other people think of me. And I feel like, and maybe those two paths is like a fork that leads back to each other, you know? And it just leads to the same path, where it's like I take one and then it leads me back to Christ. I take the Christ path and it leads me where I stop caring about what anyone thinks. But why I think that they don't come back to each other is because you need a good reputation if you're following the faith. You don't want to cuss. You probably don't want to do nicotine. I mean, no, you can, because you just have to take it with in moderation. I don't know. I really have no idea. You know, it's like the thing where it's like I'm 20 years old and I don't know what I'm doing in life. I don't know how to face the dragon. I don't know even if I'm on the path that's going towards the dragon that I need to face, or if I'm just like going down a shithole. You just don't know. I just don't know. I say you just don't know because I feel like maybe, everyone's path is different and everyone's life is different and everyone has different circumstances and experiences, and you just don't, it's all subjective to a person. But everyone has an inner version of themselves, their inner them, your inner me. And that inner me is your inner me. My faith has always been in Christianity, but there's a question I asked myself. And funny enough, it was when I got high. It was when I got high, you know? And that's another thing. It's just like you keep some stuff to yourself, you know? But in that, it feels like you're almost putting yourself in a box. When you don't let other people see all of you, it's like you're putting yourself in a box. You try to keep everything hidden. And it says in the Bible that everything is going to come to light. Every sin you did, every evil thought, everything it's all going to come to light one way or another. And so maybe that's it. Maybe the thing is that you can't be afraid of the social anxiety of other people, of yourself, of life, of the fear of other people. You can't try to people please. You can't try and be someone else, you know? Every time you try and be someone other than yourself, you lose a piece of yourself. But let me pull it up. This is something that I asked myself that let's see, it was right here. If I can find it. Oh, here we go. This was something that I asked myself about Christianity that really made me think. Hold up. Right when I paused, I found it. That's kind of funny. This was a question. Did Christianity destroy my sense of self-worth because of my view of my own sin and lack of my own work in my salvation? Did Christianity destroy my sense of self-worth? Did Christianity destroy my sense of self-worth? I don't even know. you know, you view yourself as a child of God. But did it destroy my sense of self-worth? Hold on. The question was, did Christianity destroy my self-worth? But I think the real thing is that I have a problem in my life of comparison and of viewing myself as so much lower than people, or like the comparison gets in my head, and then I start thinking about all the positive qualities of other people, and then looking at myself and the inner me is only looking at the negative qualities of myself. And that's not even a Christianity problem, but it's just me trying to blame or put the blame on Christ rather than myself, rather than my inner me. Damn. Gotta charge this shit. I don't know. I don't know. I need to get my shit together. But like I was saying though, I dropped out of school and I'm seeing where this leads me. I had the plan of I'm gonna try and produce music. I'm gonna try to go into not computer science, but like kind of that field or whatever. And then I start comparing myself with like people who are making more money, people who are bigger than me, people who are doing more with their life. And I started to compare myself and I'm like, shit, I'm cooked, Like today, I was having dinner with my family and I just like couldn't get over a sense of like they're talking about my passion in music and doing all this and that. And I'm at a point where I'm making the album, but it's hard because some things just aren't going the way that I want them to go. Making the album with 3 people for the first time, everyone has a different view on how they want the album to come out. And you think that your view is the best view no matter what. Because you can't get over yourself. And so I've kind of hit a wall a little bit where it's like, damn, maybe I should just do solo shit. Maybe I should just like try to do my own thing. Maybe I should just make songs for myself. Because it's like, you think about it, it's like, people aren't going to love what you do, but people are going to love what I do. And that's just, I think that's another problem where it's like, it's comparison and insecurity in myself. And then I look at that and, what's it called? I look at that and I see a selfish part of me. A part of myself that I dig deep down inside, and it's a selfishness, a narcissism, and I think that narcissism and selfishness is probably where the comparison comes from. But I can identify these problems in myself all day. But it's really just like, well, how do you solve them? And then even when you give yourself an answer on how to solve them, you start thinking, well, it's like, okay, maybe how do I even solve that selfishness? That's also been another thing that's so deep-rooted. Comparison has been second nature to me, and selfishness has been second nature to me. and loved ones have called me selfish. Um, a lot. A lot. So much. And I think it's because they've been with me for so long, and it's like I can say that no, it's their distorted view of me. They don't actually know me, even though they do. They do know me, and they see a selfishness, and they must be thinking it's like he's got to get over that problem, because that's a pretty big problem. I mean, that's like when you're so self-centered. When you're so self-centered, it goes into everything. You know, I get so self-centered, and then I start thinking about how people view me. It's like I go to the gym because I want to look better than other people. Um, I go to, I pray, and I don't even like praying for other people. And not that I don't like praying for other people, but it almost seems like a burden. A burden. I start praying, and there's so many people to pray for that it just starts to feel like a burden, where it's like, well, I gotta pray for this person, I gotta pray for that person. And sometimes like, oh, I like to pray for other people. It's like, I'm glad I'm praying for this, and it's like so quick. My prayers for other people are so quick, and then my prayers for myself go on and on and on and on, because I won't. And maybe it's because it's like I have faith that the Lord is going to take care of the people I'm praying for. But maybe it's just I don't have enough faith that the Lord is going to take care of me and what I want. And it's hard too, because it's just like lots of people pray for lots of things for themselves, for their success, or what they're into right now, because they're so enamored with themselves that and they want their life to work out so bad. But it's hard because they've seen so many times and been disappointed so many times, because those prayers don't come to fruition. I've prayed a lot of prayers that have been answered, and I've prayed a lot of selfish prayers that haven't been answered. And I think those prayers are good, but then obviously the destiny and what the Lord has for me is not aligned with those prayers. Is not aligned with it's not aligned with my destiny. And so it's like I try and I keep on praying this prayer. Keep on moving the damn mic. I keep on trying to pray this prayer for myself. And I keep on praying, and I ask for more and more. And I want it so bad. That I just keep on praying. And I pray so much. Almost because it's like I want it to work out. But like I don't have enough faith because I've just been disappointed so many times. Like for music, for example. I mean, I prayed that it would be consistent. That this passion wouldn't go away. Maybe it's just a thing to learn, where it's like this is just an obstacle where I got to get over. I don't know. you know. Pray for strength. The prayers that honestly seem to get answered is the prayers for strength and quality of your characteristics. Pray for strength, Lord. I pray for more faith, Lord. Not actions, but qualities. Pray for strength. I pray for patience. I pray for consistency. I pray for love. I pray to be kinder, these qualities. And it's like the things that you pray for your inside work out. But then the prayers that you pray for on the outside seem to not work out. But maybe I'm just too young, like maybe the Lord has heard my prayers. I mean, I know he has. The Lord hears every prayer. I don't know. Want things to work out so bad. Because right now life just seems like it's in shambles. Like I don't know what I'm doing. Dropped out of college. Now I gotta do community college, ACC. Because I said I would. Working, not a dead-end job, but an entry-level job. And it's hard. Doing this passion, I'm so new at it. And it seems like it's not going to work out, even though before I even gotten it, I thought it would work out. And I was so confident. And the talent was already there. But even though I was just overconfident, it's like the not the bell curve, but whatever it's called, where it's like you just get into something, you're so confident about it, but then the more you learn about it, the more it dips down. There's a couple things I need to do, though. And the things I need to do aren't... This makes me realize that the things I need to work on in my life are not outside things. I can make goals. I can make to-do lists, check things off the box. Oh, I gotta register for classes. I gotta withdraw. I gotta do this. I gotta practice this. I gotta set this up. I gotta record, just like little things like that. But those are so... I'm blanking on the word, but those are so exterior. I don't know if that's the right word, but those are exterior things. But then the things that are limiting those actions are limiting the things that are limiting my destiny, my fate, my achievements that I'll have or whatever, really comes from the inside. And I think it's a lot of, maybe it's just shadow work or whatever. It kind of brings me back to I don't know, I was going through a phase for a little bit of just like Carl Jung and the self, the ego, and going through that. But the things that I need to work on to face the inner me, to face my dragon, it seems like, is the first thing is getting rid of my selfishness. Getting rid of my selfishness. Getting rid of my selfishness, and then not caring about what other people think about me. Because that's also limiting. Imagine if I post this and I have a fear that, what if a family member saw this and was just like, oh my gosh, this is his actual thoughts or whatever. But, it's like the saying, it's like 90% of the suffering you actually experience is all inside your head. It's hard. It's like a this is kind of funny, but cuz I've been dealing with it, but it's like life, or it's like your inner you is like a metronome, you know? You sway back and forth from my life is awful, I'm so ungrateful for everything. Life is in shambles. I'm so paranoid about what other people think and blah 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 blah. But then it goes the other way. It's like, oh, my ego is so inflated. I'm so prideful right now. Everything is awesome. Everything is amazing. I'm goated. Uh, you know, I'm ugly. I'm the greatest. I could be a model. I'm skinny. I'm jacked. It's so hard getting rid of the metronome. You don't want the metronome. You just want consistency. So that's, I guess, what I pray for, Lord. I pray for consistency in everything I do. I pray for positive consistency. That's what I pray for. But then the biggest thing is selfishness. How do I get over my selfishness? How do I stop thinking about myself, what I want? Well, it's maybe I just stop praying for myself in general. I stop praying for myself in general, you know? Or I stop, actually, no, scratch that. I stop praying for exterior things to happen in my life. You know? Oh, I pray I get this job. I pray that I get an award for this, or I pray that I get better at this, or I'm really good at this skill, or I pray that I get this skill, or that I win this thing, or blah blah blah. But rather, it kind of reminds me of the saying where it's like, don't pray for an easy life, pray for to be a stronger person. I don't know. That just seems like the dragon, though. The dragon that, I don't know. I know that I have to face. And also I know a lot of other people deal with it too. Where it's like a narcissism, a selfishness. And maybe it's better if I post this because it's like, who gives a shit? Who gives a shit if they, like, what I think, what a person thinks about me? Maybe it's better if they know, what's going on inside my head. I've always had a problem of just like expressing how I truly feel. And I think that that's why I love creating whatever so much. It's because it's almost like a way for me to let other people inside my mind. And I have to get over about like, oh, I want the project to come out my way. When in reality, it's like, well, shit, this is like already such a new thing in music where it's like, I shouldn't care at all. If I focus on the shadow work and leave my destiny and fate and the exterior all to God, maybe that's the answer. I'm sorry that if you know me and you see me vape, you're just like, oh my gosh, what is he doing? Nicotine, I don't know. One of my really good friends gave me this because he had two, and he was just like, hey, you want this? And I was like, if you're just gonna leave it here, whatever. I'm like, I'm not addicted. But now I'm in it so much. Where it's almost like second nature. But it's just like, it helps you think, it helps you focus, whatever. Like a nootropic. I don't know. and it feels cool. I mean, I know vaping isn't cool, but like smoking cigarettes or whatever. I mean, any way of just like inhaling something and then exhaling something. It feels so cool. So I'm sorry if you're watching this and you're like, "Oh no, don't vape." Sorry. I don't know. I don't know. I just got to leave the exterior up to the Lord. And then because the real battle is what's going on in your heart. That's the real battle. And I'm so young, and I have no idea what I'm doing. Um, whether it's trying to be prideful or humble or whatever. But I feel like maybe that's it's like selfishness in itself, but maybe it's like if I focus on what's going on in my heart and I try to do the shadow work and I try to figure everything out on the inside, maybe then it'll solve all of my exterior problems. But I don't even think that. It's like my faith leads me to believe that it's like no matter what happens in my life, no matter what goes on, no matter if I become rich and successful or if I become broke and homeless on the side of the street, it's all up to fate. It was my destiny. It was meant to happen. But all that to say, if I never confront myself in my heart, and if I never figure out who I am, then I've lost. But take heart, because Christ has overcome the world. And if Christ has overcome the world, then I can overcome myself. I don't know. I saw a reel. I gotta get off reels. It's funny though. It's like I get on reels and half of it is just brain rot, and then the other half is just like it seems like there's a lot of wisdom. I don't know. Sometimes I get on reels and it's just like I feel like, well, reels is a bad thing, but he works everything for our good, and it's just like I see a reel and it's like, oh, I was meant to see that. That's wisdom right there. But it reminds me of like a thing where it's like a reel I saw. It was like from it was a clip of an Adam Sandler movie, and it was like, who are you? And then he's like starts thinking, well, I'm just an easygoing guy, blah blah, hardworking, blah blah. And he says, no, who are you? It's like, oh, blah 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 blah. He starts naming off more things, and then he says, no, who are you? Who are you? And it's just like brings you to a question where it's like, I don't know. I don't know who I am. It's a maze. And is the inner self, when you finally reach the inner self, because I feel like when you get to that point, it's like you do all this deep searching and then you find your inner self. Like I feel like I've found my inner self, but then that's just the first part. That's just the first part of overcoming the obstacle. Now that you found your inner self, it's like your inner self is tangled and in such a jumble of a mess. And now you have to, it's like wires, and then now you have to untangle all the wires and have it fully laid out. And then, but then what? Is that gold? Is that the inner gold? Is after I untangle my inner self, is that gold? Is that what I've always been searching for? I don't know. I don't know. It's like people say, it's like they finally get what they ask for and they still end up feeling empty. Maybe every person is just empty on the inside. You untangle the wires and it's just like, well, now that I've untangled all the wires, it's just wires. Now everything is organized and laid out flat. What am I going to do with it? Am I going to plug it into something? Am I going to plug it into, the exterior? Or is it just so that I lose the fear of what other people think about me? Is it so that I'm, what's it called? What's the word? Is it so that I am, I'm trying to think of the word. Is it so that I am finally bearable to other people? What if I do figure myself out and then it's like, well, Rex, now you're not selfish anymore. Oh, I'm glad I'm not selfish anymore. Thank you. I'm finally bearable for you. I'm finally enough for you. I'm glad that I'm finally enough for you. Maybe that's the other thing. It's like, to even begin the journey, you have to begin it for the right reasons. Are you figuring yourself out for yourself, or are you doing it so that you're more liked by other people? And I feel like it's, at least in my case, it's like, I feel like it's so that I'm more liked by other people. If I figure myself out, oh, finally, he's not so self-centered. Sorry, I'm getting paranoid. Finally, he's not so self-centered. Finally, I can bear to be around him. I just don't know. I don't know. And you have to think it's just like, well, like all things, there's a balance, Rex. You want to be bearable to other people, but I think in my mind it's like, okay, well, if I'm not doing that for the right reasons, do I just focus on the exterior? Do I just focus on what I'm doing? You are what you do. You are your achievements. Or and you are what you do, and you just focus on the exterior, and then after that it's like you just completely neglect like the shadow work and yourself, and where is that going to lead? Ever since I was young, I was afraid of the dark. And I feel like even that's deep, where it's like, the more I search within myself, the more questions there are to answer, and the more unknowns come up. I can think about what I want to do, what I want to talk about, But then it's just like, at the end of the day, it all leads to the same question, and it's, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what's gonna happen after I figure it out. It's like, it's such a fear of the unknown, where it's like, you try to do this shadow work so that you have everything figured out, and then you feel like, almost, it's like you can get to this point, and then you can see in the future how it's going to be before you're actually there. But it's like the Bible says, it's like you just got to stop worrying and start living. But it all goes back to the same answer. It's like, I don't know. I've never had a serious girlfriend before, and it's like, well, what happens when I do get a serious girlfriend? Oh, I'll get married. What happens when I get married? Oh, she'll be the love of my life. But it's like, I don't know that. I don't know if she'll be the love of my life. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm in the prime of my life now, and I just don't know. I don't know where. Well, it should probably be in prime. I'm in the prime of my life, and I'm trying to answer, these deep and profound questions. But it's like, then where's it gonna lead? I don't know. What happens when... I don't know. Maybe it's alright to not know, though. I mean, I know it's alright to not know. I know it's alright to not know. But now that I know that, what now? I don't know. You just want to have everything figured out. It's weird. I hear of creepy noises in the background. I think of the dark. And I'm just scared of these unknowns. Where's that noise coming from? What's in the dark? I don't know. That's the most that's the most terrifying thing. Not knowing. In my life, I've been like, my loved ones have also called me a know-it-all. And I think it's just because, like, I try to know everything that I think I need to know. What's in the dark? I don't know. And if I don't know what's in the dark, then I'm not going to go anywhere near it. Because you think the worst thing is in the dark. You think there's a monster in there. You think that it's the most terrifying thing that you're ever going to come across. You think it's a demon. These unknowns in your life, when an unknown comes to fruition, like or not to fruition, but when you see something in your life, when you get to a crossroads in your life, when you want to know about something and you don't know, you always assume the worst. Because you just don't know. And you want to know so bad. But if it's something that you don't know, and you only and you only deal with things that you know about. If you only experience life in this box, say this box represents the things I know. And then, this box represents the things that I know. But then life in itself, imagine there's like a white sheet of paper. And this white sheet of paper encompasses is as big as the universe, It's infinite. This white sheet of paper is infinite. But obviously, your mind can only comprehend so much. And then when you only deal with things on the white sheet of paper that you're drawing a box. You're drawing a box. And honestly, that box, it's comfortable. It's comfortable to be in that box. You know what's in that box. And you're confident in that box. You like that box. But it's like what you want. It's almost like your destiny, your truest self, your realized self, your awakened self, your success, the love of your life, your purpose is outside of the box. And it's weird. It's like you're inside of the box and nothing changes, Nothing changes. Like everything outside of the box and inside the box is just it's objective. It is what it is. It doesn't change. There's good and bad on the white sheet of paper, and it's just it is what it is. Whether you think it's bad or whether another person thinks it's bad or whether you think it's good or whether another person thinks it's good. But at the end of the day, it's just like what's on the white sheet of paper, or whatever, is itself, is the white sheet of paper. But you assume that everything outside of your box on the white sheet of paper is horrible, is terrifying, is absolutely the worst thing that you could think of. And you're afraid of it, and so you just stick to your box. But you hear all the success stories, all the people who made it, all the people who, I don't know, not even happy, because it's like it's like you could say this is my box that I'm in. This is what I know, and you could say a successful person's box and what they know is a lot bigger than what you know. It's a lot bigger than your box. A successful person's box is a lot bigger than your box. But you hear these stories where it's like even a successful person, they end up getting the things that they wanted. They've gone outside of their box to a point where it's like they have everything that they thought they wanted, or everything that they did want, but they're still hollow. They still feel empty. They still end up craving more. But then everyone looks up to the people whose boxes are bigger than theirs. It's weird. It's really weird. Because they had the bravery to go outside of their comfort zone, to face the dark, to go into the unknown. And maybe I mean that's the journey. That's the hero's journey, to go into the unknown. That's the journey. To go into the unknown. The journey is to go into the unknown. And you look up to these successful people, and what do they say? They say, it's like I was saying, it's like what's outside of your box. You think it's horrifying, but in reality, it's just objective. Whatever it is what it is. And so, like, when you finally get what you want, and when you finally know the unknowns that you wanted to know, it's not like it changes the substance of what you wanted to know. It's almost like an item in itself. It has value to you. Almost like a piece of memorabilia. But in the end, it's just an object. And an object just can't make you happy. I don't know where happiness comes from, and they say happiness is like a cat. And when you try and chase the cat, it's never gonna, it's just gonna run away from you. But then when you finally stop chasing the cat, it comes and sits down in your lap. And that's happiness. I don't know. I don't know. All this talking has just, this talking has been good because it's almost like it leads me to the boundaries of my box. It leads me to the boundaries of my box. And people online can say, it's like, okay, the answer is you have to go into the unknown. You have to go into the unknown. But how do you do that? How do you face the unknown? I don't know. Maybe it's by doing whatever scares you. I have a thought where it's like, okay, where I'm at right now is like, I can do riffs on the guitar, and I could make a pretty successful song and get my vocals just right and blah blah blah. But I can put all this on a piece of paper, but imagine if I try to perform it live. It's like I'm just not good enough for guitar, or singing with vocals, or doing whatever that it would actually be good enough for people to listen to. Or it's like, imagine if I try to I can write down good lyrics, But then what if I make it and then I it's just like silly things. But like, what if I make it and then I get on a podcast or whatever, and they're like, okay, freestyle for us. I have no idea how to freestyle. I have no idea. Then I think about that. Oh well, that's another thing, Like, what if that happens? Like, I got to get good at that, prepare for the worst or blah 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 blah. Like, or that's an unknown. I'm terrified of that. But it's just another worry. It's just another worry. Maybe expanding the box is also like a cat, The more you try, well, I don't know. I'll name this I don't know. But it's like if I if I try to chase the unknown, maybe I'll never end up expanding my box, Maybe I'll never even face the unknown. If I don't try to chase the unknown, maybe it'll just happen by itself. I'll be put in situations by God that, that are objective, and I'll face whatever I need to when I need to face it. I don't know. The two things that are interesting that I moved this damn mic around so much. The two things that I really think are interesting that I've talked about is the two are the fear of the dark, aka the fear of the unknown, and selfishness. Those are the two things. I don't know. It's hard. I'm just like at the stage in my life, and I just want everything figured out because it seems like I just don't have enough faith in myself that it'll all work out. I right now I kind of feel like a loser. And I just want these things figured out. But it's just like, I am what I am. Probably not a loser. I don't think really anyone's a loser. But it's just like, the comparison leads me to think that I'm a loser. And like, I start comparing myself to different people's lives and their circumstances and everything. And then like, oh, well, I'm just not good enough, I'm just like, I'll never compare to these people. But it's just like, you just don't know. You don't know anything. So what do you do? No one knows anything. I mean, no matter how big a person's box is, on that white sheet of paper, it's not like it even really matters, because it's just like, because it's not going to encompass the entire thing, They're not going to experience everything. I'm not going to experience everything. I can try to make my box as big as possible. But in the end of the day, it's like, what does it matter? Well, I feel like if I make my box bigger, then I'll be more successful, I'll be where I want to be. But it doesn't even matter worrying about those things, because at the end of the day, it's like, it's not really up to you if things work out or not. A lot of things are just up to circumstance, It's like even in the Bible it says like you just kind of a lot of things are just luck, where it's just like you got to be at the right place at the right time. Kind of reminds me of Ray from Kai Cenat stream. It's like imagine what Kai Cenat and Ray met at like some gas station or whatever. It's like and imagine Ray didn't say the things that he needed to say, or he never showed up to that gas station or whatever, or he never met him in real life, then he'd be in a completely different spot. He'd be way less successful probably than he is now. And yeah. You just gotta stop worrying. If fate is real, kind of reminds me of Oedipus Rex. It's a messed up story. But if fate is real, which honestly believe it is, then no matter what happens, it'll come to fruition whether you like it or not. Yeah. So no point worrying about it. Talking's got me really existential. Suppose it just hits the back of my throat. Pause. You just don't know. You just don't know. You make your decisions. But the biggest thing is that like you keep on praying while you're paddling, Tsunami's coming. You pray to God that you make it out alive, but you're also paddling the boat to get away from the tsunami at the same time you're praying. So you just be consistent in your work. Be consistent in your work. Follow your passions. They'll lead and they'll show you what you're talented at and what you're not talented at. And you'll expand your box, and you just be consistent no matter what. If you want to do something, then do it. Don't dream it, just do it. I had a random lady when I was in Pensacola, Florida. Just random lady that I never talked to before. I made sure to remember it. I wrote it down. But I was just talking to her, and she was such a nice lady. And I'm like usually a little introverted, but like I just struck up a conversation with this random lady from the Bronx, and she was like, she just telling me about her life, and she was just like, if you want to do something or if you have a dream, don't dream it, just do it. Just do it. Reminds me of the Nike act. But just do it. Don't dream it, just do it. Just do it. I probably am going to post this. Because why not? Maybe it'll be something people fall asleep to. Maybe it'll be good for people to just like know a little bit what's going on inside my head. I mean, even now my pride is saying that these are thoughts that no one has ever thought of before. But it's just like two conflicts in myself, where it's like the humble me and then the prideful me, where it's like the humble me is just like, Rex, people have thought about this before. This is nothing innovating. But then like the prideful me is like, this is very innovating. It's just And even that idea isn't revolutionary, you know? You start talking to yourself, and this was the big thing that I learned from Carl Jung, is that like a lot of the fables and stories that uh have been told over generations and generations, and these myths and everything, they're all really just like metaphorical for the human experience and like what's going on in people's mind. Like I think of like the devil on your shoulder and then the angel on your shoulder. It's like, well, you know, the angel would be the humble me, and then the devil would be the prideful me. Which one's louder? Which one do you listen to? Which one do you listen to get what you want? To end up with the circumstances that you want? You know? Maybe it's just that I don't have enough faith in the angel for the humility to work out. And maybe it's just like, maybe I think that, you know, if I don't listen to the devil every once in a while, then what I want won't come to fruition. You know? Again, I don't know. Oh my gosh, I told myself that I wouldn't stay up late talking, but now it's like 3 a.m. You get in these situations where it's like, you know, I had a lot of callbacks, and like I remember uh what you remember what the people you cared about in your life, you remember the bad things that they tell you. And now I'm trying to remember the good things they told me. The talents, the things that will direct me to, you know, I mean, it's good to know your limitations and what you can't do in a healthy sense. You know, I believe you can do anything that you put your mind to. But it is good to like not be too arrogant and have the humility to just put yourself in a place of learning. You know, if you want to do something, then you have to sit down and learn, or like you just have to show humility towards it, and you just can't be arrogant or overconfident. Um, and so like that's what you can get from listening to the negative things, but it's like I try to remember the positive things that people have spoken to me, to my face, or about me, and I just can't really remember them. Maybe it's also another thing, it's like I had the thought where it's like, this is more of like a masculine thing or a man thing, but it's like, you know, you always, or you usually say the good things to someone behind their back. You know, you'll say bad things behind a person's back, but it's like you'll see that it's weird. It's like you'll always say the bad things that like that a person needs to hear behind their back, and then you'll always say the good things that a person needs to hear behind their back too. Or at least it's easier, you know? It's easier to say those things behind a person's back and not tell them straight to their face. But if you did tell it to their face, every person would be so much more realized, so much more self-actualized. Actuation. What were the good things that people have said to me? What has been one thing in my life that someone told me, Rex, you're talented with that? Lifting? I mean, people have complimented on my exterior. Been like, dude, you're so good looking. this is corny, but like, I mean, whatever. Dude, you're so good looking, bro. You mog. But that doesn't even matter. It's like, what has been something I've done? Some like passions that I pursued, or something that I've done, and someone is complimenting, saying, "Damn, you're really good at that." One thing comes to mind. It's like when I really want to do something. When I really want something. I mean, I'm talking about like never before. I'll make it happen. Yeah. But I can think of moments where it's like I haven't made things happen. Or maybe honestly it's just too early to say. You know, I'm only 20 years old. I can still make those things happen. But those have been very. Hold on, I'm trying to think of more moments. No one ever told me that. People have called me good looking. That's all that comes to mind. I can think things about myself, but what are things that people have told me? I have no idea. Nothing comes to mind besides that people told me that I'm good looking. Maybe I should follow that. Maybe I should become a model. Maybe that's the only talent I have. Blessed with genetics. It's not even something that I have developed though. I mean, a little bit with working out, but it's like most of that is just genetics. You could say 90% of that. I don't know. I have no idea. If I think more, no, I don't know. I don't know. Because it's like one of those things where it's like when someone actually gives you a heartfelt compliment, you remember that. But all people have told me is that I'm good looking. That's it. That's it. That's all people have told me. That is it. But people also know me for being wishy-washy about passions. I mean, even a friend that I got close with, when I discovered a new passion, he was like, I don't know, Rex, I've heard that, people told me you're pretty wishy-washy about passions. And I was like, oh, okay. So it's not just my parents and loved ones telling me that, it's everyone knows. Everyone knows about that. Okay. Right. Hmm. That's interesting. It's just one of those things. It's just another unknown that I want to know. It's like I was saying, the things that matter are 95, 99% of the time said behind your back. Things that you should know, that you need to know, are 99% said behind your back. And I just wish I could know more about myself. Maybe that's selfish and self-centered, but I just wish I could know more about myself, and I feel like I would know more about myself if I knew what people were saying about me behind my back. But maybe that just comes from a place of just like, oh, then I'll be bearable towards you. Okay. I'm getting this wrong. Okay. Let me fix that for you. The third thing is I just want to people please. I just want to be good enough for other people. It's like I hate blaming things on problems on other things. But this is where that thought comes from. It's like this is where this thought that I'm about to say comes from. It's like if people, the only talent or whatever that people said about me is that I'm good looking, then I'm gonna base everything on being good looking, on being better, muscularity wise, physically more. I'm gonna base my attractiveness. That's gonna be my self-worth, and then I start comparing myself to other people, and then my self-worth gets destroyed because I'm not the greatest looking guy out there. There's always going to be someone better looking than me and someone less better looking than me. I don't know. That's the thing I need to figure out in my 20s, is a talent that does not come from genetics. What am I actually good at, that is not purely based on, attractiveness is all chance. It's not based on chance. Something that's actually uh something that's actually something that's actually, what's the word? Something that's actually based on hard work. A talent or a positive thing about me that's actually based on hard work. Or something, or a skill, something like that. I don't know. Gotta figure that out. Gotta find that. But in the meantime, this does make me realize it's just like a lot of myself is just people pleasing. A lot of my motivations for everything is just people pleasing. So if I just throw that in the trash, then I'll be good. I'll be free. That's a big theme in my life. I just want to be free. Free from the negativity, from the free to do whatever I want without a care in the world, to work at whatever I want without the judgment of other people. Maybe that's all anyone ever wants. Because it's just like, if you can't get over that, then you're always just going to be crushed by society, by societal expectations, by social pressures. And I just want to be free. And it reminds me of just like the freedom that you find in Christ. And it's just like, well, you'll have achievements in that, but you'll also always have sin. The sin is washed clean, but you have a reputation, and it's just like, if you don't hold that, if you neglect that reputation, and you don't have a reputation, that is, what's it called? That is, this thing's dying. I gotta wrap this up. But if you don't, what's it called? But if you neglect the reputation, then that's sin in itself, and you don't want to sin. But if you neglect the reputation, then it's sin. Because to follow Christ means that you are acting like him. And if you're acting like him, acting like Christ, then you're going to have a good reputation. But obviously, you sin every day. And so, when you're not acting like him, people are going to know. But I just want to be free from it all. But it seems like that judgment everywhere you go follows you. No matter what religion you get into, no matter what drugs you take, no matter what you do, no matter what talent you develop, no matter what skill. I mean, it seems like, the white sheet of paper I was talking about, it seems like the entire white sheet of paper, it's all, no matter where you go, no matter how big your boxes on that white sheet of paper, you're never going to be able to run away from the judgment of other people and judgment in itself, judgment from the Lord. But maybe that judgment, I don't know. I know nothing about that judgment. I mean, I want to say it's like judgment from the Lord. I mean, the Lord is good, and it's His judgment is good, is fair, is righteous. And so if that's a good judgment, then, not all judgment, His judgment is not bad. It might end up being a bad outcome for you, but it's not bad. It is holy. And maybe it's a sin enemy, and maybe it's just like my flesh. But I just want to be free from that. Not that judgment. I mean, I'm not judgment like just from the Lord, but I mean judgment in itself. I want to be free from judgment. And honestly, I guess that really is my flesh. Because the whole point is it's just like everyone wants that, Oh, shit. Oh, no, we're good. Everyone wants to be free from judgment. And you look up to the people who don't care. And people like those who are afraid of judgment. I don't know. More I don't knows. Yeah. But you know what they say? It's like the time when you are most free in your life when you are under the rule of God, when you are in the bounds. I mean, it's a weird concept, but it's like one of the things that's so interesting about Christianity is it's like, when you are free, when you are truly free, is when you are living in the bounds and the holiness and the sanctification of Christ. That is when you are most free. And all I want is freedom. Things to think on. I don't know if I'm going to post this or not. We'll see. I don't know. I might just post this whatever. I think I will, just because it's just I don't know. I like to create things, and I feel like this is something that I've created that I think it would just be better if this was documented. I don't know. A dumb thought. Yeah. That's all there is. The name of all this, the main idea of all this is unknown. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'll come back 10 years from now and 10 years from now I'll probably still be in the I don't know. 70 years from now I'll probably still be in the I don't know. The only difference is I'll probably just care less about the I don't know. That's probably all there is.